What's up, sons? It's Blind Ride with Son of Tech once again, and welcome to Linux Workshop Part 3. Today we're going to be talking about file system navigation. File system navigation is probably the most important skill you can learn when working with Linux because it will help you understand where you are at any given time. And you will need to understand this when you are working with different applications within Linux and editing configuration files and so on, and making sure that you know where you are placing those files and how they are accessed from different scripts, etc. So first things first, we need to distinguish the difference between an absolute path and a relative path. The definition of an absolute path is an absolute path on Linux computer is like a full address for a specific file or folder. Just like how you need a full address to know where to send a letter, a computer needs a full address to know where to find a file or folder. An absolute path starts with the root folder, which is the very topmost folder on the computer. And then it gives the complete list of all the other folders you need to go through to get to the file or folder you want. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Linux console here and give you guys an example. Starting out always, I like to make sure that you know that you are working within the correct machine. So you can type host name. And we are confirmed that we are on our tutorial machine now. The next thing we want to do is confirm that we are using the correct user. And we'll do that with a who am I command. And you can see we are logged in as the user son. So we know we're on the right machine and we're logged in with the correct account. So we aren't making any mistakes or changes to a system that we do not intend to make changes to. From here, we're going to check the working directory that we are starting in with the command pwd, which we covered previously. And you can see we are currently at root. If we want to navigate to our home folder, we can do a change directory tilde and then run pwd again, and you'll see we're in our home directory. At any given time, you are going to use the command change directory and / to go to the topmost directory within any Linux file system. And you can see that we can confirm that by doing pwd, and we are in the / directory. Now, if we want to type an entire absolute path and navigate to the son's home folder, we will do change directory /home and then /son. And if we had another folder within that directory, we would just continue the full address. So we're going to do /home /son, and we'll do a pwd, and we can see that we're in the son directory. Let's go ahead and talk about the relative path so you can see the distinguishment. A relative path on a Linux computer is like giving directions to a friend to find a toy at your house. Instead of giving the full address of your house, you can just tell them where to find the toy by saying things like go in the front door, then go up the stairs, then turn left, then go into my room, and it's on the shelf. A relative path on a computer works the same way. It tells the computer where to find a file or folder by giving the directions starting from where you are right now. And that's why it's important to understand the pwd command, right? So you can tell where you're working from at that time. And this is instead of starting from the very top, which is always signified from the /. It makes it easier for you to navigate around the computer because you don't have to remember the full address of everything. So let's go ahead and move back over to the desktop and we'll show you how to do this. I'm going to do a clear command that clears the console. We're going to do a pwd command, and you can see that we're working from the /home /son directory. Now, if we do a change directory and .. that will bring us up to the home directory. And you can see here if we do pwd that we're in the home directory, not in the son directory. We can utilize an ll command to list the directories that are within the home directory. And you can see here that we have son and we have test. These are the two users that are on this machine. So from here, we can change directory into the son folder by just typing in change directory son and pressing enter. At this point, we can run the pwd command, and you can see that we moved from home into the son directory. However, if we went to the root directory and then we look at all of the folders. If we try to change directory into the Sun folder, well, there's no Sun folder, so we won't actually be able to go into there. And this is why we would need an absolute path, because we need to know where to go. So at this point, we can go ahead and do the absolute path of change directory. And we know that the Sun folder is in home, so we'll do /home and then /sun. Let me go ahead and clear the screen so you can see this. So we go change directory /home /sun, and that would be an absolute path. This is extremely important when scripting, because depending on where the script is, it will basically need to either have a full path, or of course you can do the relative path. So absolute path, though, in general, when doing any kind of scripting, is what I would definitely recommend. However, if you're just navigating around within the system in the command line, it can be useful to utilize relative paths to go ahead and get to those a little bit quicker. And this could be because you also don't know what folders are in there, right? So if we do a pwd command, and you can see that we're in the home/sun directory, well, maybe we're looking for a folder, but we don't really know what it's called. So we'll do the ll command, and we can see here that we have a test folder. It's actually highlighted in blue. So if we wanted to change directory into the test folder from here, we could do change directory and test. And at this point, if we do an ll, we'll see that we are in here with all of our created files. And if we do a clear and then a pwd, you'll see here that we are in the test directory, which is under sun and under home. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what the differences between a relative path is and an absolute path. Moving on from there, let's talk about different commands you can utilize. The man command, MAN, in Linux is short for manual. It is a command that you can use to read the manual pages for different programs and tools on your Linux computer. Manual pages are like instructions or a user guide for a program that tells you what the program does, how to use it, and what the different options and commands are. When you type man followed by the name of a program, the manual page for that program will be displayed on that screen for you to read. So let's go ahead and go back to our Linux console here, and we are going to use the ls command for this demonstration. So we'll type in man and then ls, and you can see here that it essentially lists out all of the different options for ls. This is important because you can see here that we can do the down arrow key to browse through this. We have all these different options, and these options that we type in for the ls command will give us different different outcomes, right? For example, -h with -L and -S print file sizes like 1K, 234 M, and 2 gig instead of just doing the entire bytes. And this is going to be easier for people to read for the human readable. You can at any time press the Q button to quit out of it. So now we're going to talk about the change directory command, or the CD command. The CD command in Linux is used to change the current directory. The current directory is like the folder that you are currently inside of on your computer. When you open a terminal window, you are automatically in a specific folder, and you can use the change directory command to move around to different folders on your computer. Going back, of course, we talked about this a little bit before, but we're going to run the pwd command to see the current working directory that we are in. And then to move to the utmost directory, we are going to do change directory /. We can do a pwd command to confirm that we're in the topmost directory. And then from here, here's an interesting shortcut, and that's tilde. For the logged in user, you would want to check the logged in user first with who am I, and you'll see that we're Sun. If we want to move into Sun's home directory, think of it like a file library in Windows, we are just going to do the shortcut change directory and tilde. At this point, if we press enter and then pwd, what you'll notice is that we are in the home directory. Now, To move up one folder in the system, we can use another shortcut for change directory, which is change directory space ... What this will do is move us up one directory. We'll do the pwd, and you can see that we went from sun to the home directory. And this is just basic commands for change directory. To move a folder using an absolute path, you must type in the full path of the desired location. We talked about this earlier. For example, to move into the home directory of the currently logged in user with absolute path, you would type the command, once again, change directory /home/sun. And at that point, we can do the pwd command to confirm that we are in the sun directory. To navigate to a directory from the current directory via a relative path, we can type the command change directory or cd change directory name. For example, like we showed earlier, I'll do a clear, we'll do ll, and you can see that we have that test directory. Once again, we would just do change directory and test. This would be an example of a relative path, and we could press enter and then pwd to confirm that we are in the test directory. Relative path does not use the / in front of the path name. If you are moving to a directory that is held within another directory, you will use the command change directory, directory name 1 and directory name 2. For this example, what we could do is go up one directory with change directory ... and then do change directory sun. Actually, we need to go up one more into home for this example. And you can see if we do a pwd, we're in home. Because if we do an ll real quick, you can see that the sun directory is within here. Because the sun directory is here, we can still utilize a relative path and continue it on. So for example, we can do change directory sun and then / and then the test. At this point, we can do pwd and confirm that we're back in the test directory. Moving on from there, let's talk about the ls command. You've been seeing me utilize it a little bit. Let's talk about it in further detail. The ls command in Linux is used to list the files and folders in a directory. When you run the ls command, it will show you the names of all the files and folders that are inside the current directory. To find all the options for the command, we can, once again, like we showed you guys earlier, use the man ls command, and then we will have the full list of all of our different options. To exit this, once again, you press the Q button to quit. The most common options used with ls is the L for long list format, and then T for the newest first. That will basically list out the newest file you created first, and R for reverse order, which will basically reverse it so that at the bottom of the list will be your newest file. This would look like something like this. We would basically do ls and then the -ltr, press enter, and you can see here that by time of creation, it lists it in order. You can see the latest file is the lsdef. And this can be extremely important when you are trying to find maybe the last file that was created because you forgot the name of it and you need to re-edit it, that sort of thing. All right, so let's talk about the wc command. The wc command in Linux is short for word count. It is a command that you can use to count the number of lines, words, and characters in a text file. In addition, it will count the number of files in a directory when using the pipe command. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about piping, which will take the results of one command and then further basically disseminate that for additional information. To find all of the options for the wc command, we're going to go back into our console and do man and then wc. At this point, you can see that we have all of our different options for the wc command. And you can once again press the Q button to quit out of that. To display the amount of words in a text file, we can use the command wc-w and then the file name. So the file name in this case is going to be this lsdef file that we've created. And to see how many words are in this particular text file, what we are going to do is type wc-w, and then a quick way, if it's a long file name that you don't want to type out, you can right click or highlight it and then right click within PuTTY and it will display it. Another option is you can start to type out the file and press tab, and that is your autocomplete. A couple quick tips there. At this point, we press enter and you'll see that we have essentially 40 words in this particular file. To find the amount of files and directories in a directory, you will need to use a pipe command. In this case, it will look like this. Let me clear the screen for you. And it will be ls, which is going to, once again, if we press enter, it's going to list all of the files in this directory, right? And then we want to pipe it to wc so we can find out how many files are in here. So we're going to use the pipe command, which is the little straight line above your enter button. And then we're going to do wc for word count and -l. -l is saying count the lines, because ls is going to basically give us a bunch of lines. And then we are going to press the enter button and you can see that it says 7. So we can verify this by doing ls-ltr, and you can see here that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 lines. So now we know essentially we have 7 lines. That could be directories and files. That's how we're going to find out how many directories or files are within this directory. This can actually get a little complicated if we're talking about things that have so many lines that you can't read them. And this is where more and less commands actually come into play. The more command in Linux is used to display the contents of a text file one page at a time. When you run the more command followed by the name of a text file, it will show you the first page of the file, and then pause. You can then press the spacebar to see the next page, or Q to quit and exit, because if it won't show all the files in your console and it lists them all out, you aren't going to be able to see all the files unless you utilize a more or less command. The less command in this case is just the more command in reverse, but allows for you to go up and down with the page up and page down buttons on the keyboard. So let's go ahead and go back into our system and look at some examples. So change directory to the utmost directory with the change directory / command, and you will be in here. So to view the contents of the directory page by page, we're going to type in the command ls-ltr, and then we're going to pipe the more command in and press enter. And you can see here now at the bottom of the screen, let me move myself out so you guys can see this. Because it fills up the entire deal, it's going to pause here on the list and basically give us all of the files that are in here. To go further down, we're just going to press the space button and we get page 2. To view the contents of the directory in reverse order, page by page, with the ability to move up and down, we're going to use the next command, less. This example is going to be ls-ltr, and then we're going to pipe the less command here. And at this point, we can do the page down, but we go, whoops, maybe there was something up there that I didn't see. We're going to do the page up, and we can go back up. At any time here, we can press the Q button to quit out of the less. So let's go ahead and talk about the grep command. The grep command in Linux is used to search for a specific text pattern in a file or group of files. The grep stands for Global Regular Expression Print. It searches for a specific string of characters called a regular expression within a file or a group of files and returns the lines that contain that expression. So, for example, here, what we're going to do is we're going to find user details in the password file. To do this, we're going to utilize the command cat. Cat's going to grab everything from this directory. So we're going to do cat/etc/password, or PASSWD. Now, if we just do this, it's going to list everything. And we really are looking for a specific user, right? So we want to actually clear this out. And once again, you can always press up on the keyboard to go through your previous commands if you need to quickly get there. And we are going to want to use the pipe to add grep, and then we're going to look for the user son. So we're going to do basically cat etc password and then grep for son. And here we'll get the line within that directory or that file that gives us all of the information for the son user. And we can go over all of what all this means later on, but essentially it's going to tell us kind of what shell the son user is using. We can change that. We'll talk about that in a later deal. And we'll talk about all of the definitions here as well in a later video. So another use case that we can utilize the grep command for is quickly finding open ports for a specific service. This could be SSH, or in the case of building a node, it could be for the node on the system, and we need to know the port that we need to connect to, right? So to see what port the SSH service is using, we're going to use the example here. We'll have to use a sudo command to give us elevated privileges. And then we're going to do the lsof command, LSOF, and then we're going to utilize all of these switches. Once again, you can use the man lsof command if you want to find all of the different options. We're going to do -i lowercase. We're going to do -i lowercase. Then we're going to do -p uppercase, -n lowercase, and then we're going to pipe and look for SSHD, which is basically the SSH daemon. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and press enter. It's going to ask us for our password for the sudo privileges. Type that in, press enter. I messed it up. There we go. And you'll see that this command gives us all of the SSHD ports that are running. You can see here that it's on port 22. So now we know that we can connect via the IP on port 22. You can see here it lists the entire IP if you need to connect from another machine, and then you're good to go. So that's it. That's going to be Linux Workshop Part 3, navigating the file system. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I will see you next Tuesday.